Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Hope you guys are doing well today. We're continuing Watches and Wonders coverage. Today we're going to be talking about Vacheron Constantin and the watches that they released this year. In my opinion, Vacheron Constantin was one of the standouts from this year's Watches and Wonders. I think what they released was really thoughtful in the watches that they have, or the collections that they already have, but also sort of pushed the boundaries a little bit. And so I'm going to talk through some of the highlights from my perspective of what they released this year. Everything from Tourbillon Overseas to a really cool 222 reissue. And so that's what I'm going to be covering in this video. I'm going to say at the top of this video, if you are looking for a video where people have these watches in their possession, to go over them in the middle. I unfortunately do not have these watches, but I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on what I think about each of the releases, and also putting up a lot of pictures and videos if you are interested in seeing them while I sort of talk through them. So if this isn't the video for you, no sweat, but I wanted to say at the beginning so I don't waste your time. So I'll start off with the Vacheron Constantin Overseas. Vacheron Constantin has played around with skeleton dials as well as tourbillons in their Overseas collection. This is obviously the collection of watches that Vacheron Constantin is trying to compete against a lot of the steel sports watch models that you know and love. Things like the Rolex Submariners, GMTs, Audemars Piguet Royal Oaks, Patek Philippe Nautiluses. The Overseas is sort of the Vacheron Constantin equivalent of that. Vacheron Constantin had previously released an Overseas with the skeletonized dial, so you could see the movements. They had also released a Overseas with a tourbillon at 6 o'clock. This year they decided to combine both of those things and create the Overseas skeleton tourbillon watch. This watch is quite interesting because I have obviously fallen in love. I posted many times on my Instagram with the Audemars Piguet skeletonized tourbillon that they have for their Royal Oak. And I think this is a really unique move by Vacheron Constantin to combine both of these aesthetics into one watch in their Overseas collection. The watch comes in two case metals, one in 18 karat pink gold and one with a titanium case. The watch is 42.5 millimeters in diameter, so a little bit larger, but with the integrated bracelet, it's going to fit a little bit smaller, as I've mentioned in previous videos that I've talked about this. The watch is running on the extremely beautiful caliber 2160 that has a tourbillon at 6 o'clock that was released in 2018. It really is an absolutely incredible looking piece. It gives a lot of, the skeletonized dial allows you to see the depth of the movement as well as the finishing, the time and effort that goes into the finishing of each of the components of the watches. I think it has this beautiful sort of dark gray tone matte finish to all of the components, and then a really nice Maltese cross tourbillon at 6 o'clock. I think this is a really great release from them, combining all of the things that they do well into the Overseas, which is one of their staples when it comes to sort of modern watches. The next watch I wanted to talk about was probably the biggest hit for Watches and Wonders in 2022. And that was the Vacheron Constantin reissue of the reference 222. If you don't know, the 222 was a watch that was released by Vacheron Constantin, I believe in the 70s. Many believe that it was actually a Gerald Genta design, but it actually was a Jörg Heisek designed watch, but followed a lot of the similar aesthetics that Gerald Genta used to create watches that he modeled after the porthole in a ship. This was obviously the reference 222 is an extremely collectible vintage watch. People absolutely love it. It's extremely rare. There are only about under 5,500 of those watches in different case metals produced, and so it's a very rare run of watches from Vacheron Constantin. The watch is, I mean, if you wanted a brand to take a vintage design and put it into a modern watch, this is exactly the watch for you. Vacheron Constantin didn't change anything about the original 222 reference, as it should have. This watch has everything that was in the original design for the case, integrated bracelet. It's all 18 karat yellow gold, date at 3 o'clock, automatic movement. It even has the Maltese cross sort of at the bottom right hand corner of the case, which is a design element that the original 222 had as well. The watch itself is 37 millimeters in diameter. The only thing that was changed is they updated the movement that was used in this piece. to the 2455-2. The original came with the 1121 automatic movement. They've basically modernized the movement but kept the original design of the 222. In my opinion, and this is purely my opinion, I think this is easily the best release by a brand in keeping with the original aesthetics of the design, the original aesthetics and the intent of the design of the watch that they're reissuing. The one thing that I will say is when you see this watch, it might kind of stick out a little bit. I think because it really is that 70s style. It sort of feels like it's not, it is a modern watch, but doesn't follow a lot of the modern aesthetics. And so if you are interested in getting this piece, I'd say that you should try it on and really feel the difference in design from something that looks a little bit more modern. If you are interested in vintage pieces, that is your hobby, that is your aesthetic, that is what you really, really crave in watches, this is the perfect watch. But if you're looking for something modern, this is definitely not the piece for you. It is part of the Le Historique collection, and so it is something that is trying to be true to the original. But in my opinion, one of the best releases from Watches and Wonders, easily, especially for a vintage lover. Moving on, salmon dials are obviously a hit over the last couple of years. Salmon, I think probably in the last 2 years, salmon dials have just become the craze of the watch world. And Vacheron Constantin sort of integrated a salmon dial into one of their extremely beautiful perpetual calendar chronographs. This is the reference 5000T. 5000T was released in 2016 and came out in some different case metals. The one that they've released this year is a 43mm platinum cased and salmon dial version of the 5000T. Obviously, it's leaning into the salmon dial version. I don't believe that there's another platinum version of the 5000T, and so I think that's a nice progression in metals for this reference. What I really love about this piece is I almost feel like the salmon dial allows for the details of the moon phase to be a little bit more obvious to someone who's looking at this piece. When you look at the moon phase of this watch, it really is second to none when it comes to the details that have been put into it. And so I really, really love this watch. Obviously, other brands like Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, A. Lange & Söhne have perpetual calendar chronographs that compete with this watch. And I think the salmon dial allows it to be very, very relevant to some of those other ones that it's competing for wrist time on. One of the things that I want to note is I actually think the proportions of this watch are quite good. Sometimes I look at Vacheron Constantin watches and the proportions of the dial feel a little bit off to me, but this one I think is really well done. So another beautiful watch. The last piece I want to talk about is from the Le Cabinotiers department. If you don't know, the Le Cabinotiers is sort of like a special department within Vacheron Constantin where they produce unique pieces that really push the boundaries when it comes to the technical aspects of watchmaking. And this year, they normally release one watch every year that is a piece unique. And this year they released a piece unique, which is a minute repeater tourbillon split-second monopusher chronograph. It's a mouthful of a saying. The watch itself is 45mm in diameter. It is an 18-karat pink gold, and like I mentioned, it has a minute repeater, tourbillon split-second monopusher chronograph complications in it. If you look at the dial of this piece, they've actually done a really nice job in laying it out and focused heavily on the split-second chronograph complication. You can see the split-second chronograph complication has that takes up a lot of space around the outside of the dial. The hours and minutes complications are at 9 o'clock. There's a running seconds at 6 o'clock, where 6 o'clock would normally be, and then a 30-minute chronograph counter up at around 1 o'clock. Obviously, it's a split-second chronograph, so you have two chronograph hands. What's really cool about this piece, in my opinion, is that the caliber 2570, the 2757 is the manual wind in-house movement that they're using for this piece. What's really interesting about it is the split-second chronograph hands are actually made from a lightweight aluminum material to basically reduce the weight of each of the hands. That means that there's less energy that needs to go towards running each of those hands, and so in theory would increase the power reserve that one could possibly have on this watch. When you flip the watch over, it really is a sight to be seen. It has another, again, using that sort of matte, that sort of dark gray finishing to it. The minute repeater hands are absolutely phenomenal. I've heard a video of how this watch sounds, and I think it's again second to none. I'd love to hear it in person. Unfortunately, it's a piece unique, so it's a little hard for me to be able to hear that. But the video that I heard of the chime is absolutely incredible. Obviously it's got a tourbillon, so when you do turn the watch over, you can see the back side of the tourbillon beating. I really love Le Cabinotiers, the Le Cabinotiers watch that they do come out with. I do think it's an opportunity for them to push innovations within their brand forward, which is something that I'm always looking for Swiss watch companies to do, and sometimes I think other brands don't keep that in mind to push innovation forward. And so it's nice that there's almost like a department that focuses solely on that for Vacheron Constantin. So those are the pieces I wanted to cover. I really do believe that they were a standout this year. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Vacheron Constantin releases. If you want more information about the watches that we discussed in this video, head over to our website, lifeonthewrist.com, and you can go to the editorial section of our website, and there will be an article there where we go into each of these pieces. So head over to our website if you want to see that. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you like these types of videos, and if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button for us, it really does help us out with our YouTube analytics. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time.